Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Mardek, and today we are going to possibly wrap up everything in Aeropolis, at least for our first round here. Basically just make sure that we've explored everything, talked to everyone that we can talk to. Like, say, this inhabitant, whose home we just happened to walk into unannounced. Gasp! A Northern Knight? In my house for some reason? What an honor! You remind me of some other Northerner in heavy armor who passed through recently. Though, his armor was green. Lone Wolf, he said he was. He seemed nice, but all mysterious-like, as if he didn't want anyone to know who he really was. Okay, so we've, of course, heard many things about this Lone Wolf gentleman in the past. Haven't had too much in the way of firm details about him, and it would seem as though maybe that's the reason why he's making a point of not being discovered. I bet he's nobody of any significance behind his masked persona. I don't know. Something tells me that's not a coincidence. I heard that there was a guy somewhere who was trying to raise an undead army to take over the world. That is like so last chapter, but he's trying to do it anyway. Some people just don't keep up with the trends at all. Okay, my guess would be that, of course, one of those people is a reference to Mardek, but then I believe also that Saul gentleman who supposedly has the book that we're gonna try to pick up to perform necromancy, you know. So maybe we'll be joining the club in that way. As for this cultling, this man hasn't paid his monthly tip to the Temple of your Lord. Huh. People like this will regret their greed in their next lives, I tell you. That sounds awfully threatening. I don't know about that. I will pay none of my vast riches to any blasted northern gods. Why, your lord should be paying me tips. Okay, don't know about that, but as for these two, shamans can live far longer than any other person because they're blessed by nature. Some live for hundreds of years. Wow. Wonder what Gloria would have to say about that if we had Gloria in our party right now. As for this woman, in case you are distressingly unaware of this fact for some reason, poor knight who is barging into our home, each natural region is a unique shaman who embodies the spirit of the planet and serves as its voice, since it cannot communicate with sentience naturally. We're just too different. For the planet is alive, you see, and we often inflict much harm on it without being aware that we are. This is why it uses the shamans as puppets to tell us what not to do and to look after itself. Okay, seems reasonable enough, and I think that is almost everything remaining in Aeropolis, other than, say, these few people up here. This looks like a Gosnor guard. Oh, wow! Are you Sir Mardek? That's amazing! You're like my hero! I came all the way here to deliver something to the Sultan, but I'm not even allowed into the palace for some reason. Oh well, I suppose I'd best just enjoy this as a holiday or something then. I suppose could be worse. As for this area here, what's up, guards people? No effing foreigners in the palace! I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Excuse me, good sir, but the Sultan's palace is sort of, off limits to everyone except for his chosen staff. I'm, really sorry to be bothered like this. God, some people are just so rude, right? No effing foreigners in the palace! I was wondering what would happen if we actually tried to go through. And yeah, they will stop us, unfortunately, so I don't think we can do that. However, let's make our way out of the city. And maybe just check what's in this corner. Eh, nothing. For a second there, I thought maybe there's something down there. But let's head out of the city, and maybe on our way out, pick up any last things that we might want from any of the other shopkeepers. So we are back in the center of town, where all those shopkeepers are, and I think, in particular, I was thinking that we might want to pick up more of these water essences, because I think we need 4, I want to say, for that underwater breathing potion. And we did pick up more coins after we turned in all of our relics. So there's 2 water essences. I believe we'll find that there are several people who are each selling one. So across all of them, we should be able to get all the way up to 4. However, it does probably mean that we have to do business with the shady peddlers hiding in the corners. I'm sure it'll be fine. So that's 3. And then I thought we also needed an aquamarine. However, I don't remember if we have picked one up yet or not. I don't think so. I'm not seeing one, at least not at first glance. It's only 800 coins, which I know sounds like that's kind of a lot, but compare that to, it was 1,000 piece for the water essences, and some of the items that we bought from the other shopkeepers, weapons and armors, they were a lot more than that. They were in the thousands, so I think we'll take it. And you also have a water essence. So that would bring us up to 4. Let's just double check that that is actually the amount that we need, because that'd be a shame to be here where we can potentially pick up several more water essences and end up falling just shy of the amount we actually need. We could also consider purchasing some gold or silver, but I feel like let's save up our coins for now, because there are still, I believe, more armors and weapons that we've not yet purchased. Those probably should take top priority for the time being. So let's double check the quest, though. So it is Shaman's Brew. We need 4 water essence, and we do need an aquamarine. Okay, so we have this. I'm pretty sure we already have the fish scales. That leaves us with just the serpent crest and the pixie dust. That's good. And let's move on here. Or actually, tell you what. Before we do, let's head back to one of the save crystals, because I did notice, as we were looking at our inventory in that shop there, that, well, some people currently don't have much in the way of gear. Namely, Zack and Vern, the people who we have not yet done anything with in Chapter 3. Looks like we've dumped all their equipment, probably in item storage and or with Mardek. So let's just double check. Maybe we find that their stuff is somewhere in this mash of things in Mardek's inventory, or we might have thrown it in here. I think, notably, we were talking about when we picked up the snake mail, that this gives Zack a new skill, Sin Strike. So let's definitely throw that on him. Other than that, we have a trilobite armor, which might be our best remaining chest plate. Thought we picked up a few recently. The Salakian plate mail is probably, other than that, our most powerful one, and Mardek is still working on the reactions there. So we'll keep that on him. Bronze armor, at least in terms of the raw defense value, it's probably a little higher than the trilobite armor. It is, but trilobite armor, with the absorb water and additional HP, I think it's hard to pass that up. So that sounds like that might be a good candidate for Vern to throw on. Other than that, I thought we had, not the dark robe, but rather, could throw on a geo jacket. That's probably something we should have in our inventory and ready to use. The other thing that I'm thinking of, though, is the dark jacket, the dark version of the geo jacket, basically. And who has that? Ah, okay. Gloria has it in her inventory. That's where it was hiding. Okay, and also, ooh, Gloria does have iron armor, which I believe does have a reaction that we have not yet learned on Mardek, or anyone, for that matter. So let's continue to use Mardek as our storage space. Bronze armor, I think, that is probably pretty safe to throw back in item storage, because it's mostly just the armor that you would want that for, the additional defense. That's probably not anything that we'd have anyone using long-term. Whereas the things that give us skills, that's more so the stuff that we want right now. Similar story with the Keyblade, let's throw that in here, just to give Mardek a little bit more space. Maybe a leather helm as well. Mostly just trying to buy us a little bit more room, so that we can have the stuff that we want long-term in Mardek's inventory. And then, other than that, we will want a helmet. And we have picked up a few useful ones, so we can probably throw a kettle hat on Vern here, or maybe even a dark hat, if we're looking to have him learn that skill, which I think Solar had. Yeah, Solar does. Let's throw that on either Zack or Vern. Other notable things that we'll want to pick up? Other accessories probably would be next on the list. And have we picked up anything new and amazing that we might want to do this time around? I'm thinking of maybe we have all these elemental pendants here for magic defensive reactions. Those will take a while to master, those skills, but it could be that it's worthwhile to throw some of those on other people. And I was going to put him in Mardek's inventory, but given how he doesn't have much space right now, let's just throw him straight on the people. Or maybe we just carry over everything from Gloria's inventory into someone else's. Okay, so I've moved over all the elemental pendants into Vern's inventory, or at least enough for us to cover everyone that we might want to have using these. So, Vern, sure, throw on it. Well, maybe a water one doesn't make a ton of sense when he's also equipping the Trilobite armor simultaneously, because that would be a ton of water resistance, and ultimately, if you're trying to maximize that, then it might be a reasonable strategy. However, if we're looking to balance things out a little bit more, then probably makes sense to put different ones on him. As for Zack, sure, we'll throw on water and fire, why not? And I think that puts us in a pretty good place here. Oh, Mardek, we put the Evening Star on him a while back. Haven't swapped that off yet, because we were saying now, it is sort of a good item, or it can be a very strong item, don't get me wrong. It's just that it takes 10 RP to equip the double AP skill that it has, and at the moment, with Mardek also working on double gold, that's not so feasible for him right now. So for that reason, let's opt to throw something else on in place of the Evening Star. And is there anything that we have picked up recently that Mardek has not yet learned? I also think that Mardek has not learned all the magic defensive reactions from these pendants, so I guess water is kind of the theme here. We've put that on at least Mardek and Zack, I think. So that should put us in a pretty good place. So let's head on out now. And next on the list is actually, and I want to have us head back to the Sun Temple. Why is that, do you say? The reason for that is because I actually want to have us go to the Dark Temple once more. Because if you remember, there were a couple of things in the Dark Temple that we did not get the chance to do our first time around. So I may fast forward us a bit through the Sun Temple, because it is a little bit of a walk. So commence the time traveling. Alright, time travel complete. Now, however, note to self, and note to anyone else who feels the need to go back to the Dark Temple at any point in time, don't do what I just did and walk all the way through the Sun Temple, when you could have just teleported your way into Xanthusia. Now, it doesn't get you all the way to the Dark Temple, of course. It's roughly a halfway point, but it does at least save you a bit of time. So with that being said, there is still a fair bit of walking that I need to do, so commence the second round of time travel. Okay, so second round of time travel complete, and so we are back into the Dark Temple, and much like with other areas where we fought bosses in Chapter 1, or more so really Chapter 2, I think the same rule does apply where, yes, it was a fair bit of effort to get back here, however, it is worth our while, and you will see why in just a minute here. So, let's first head into, I believe it was this room down here, where we had not completed all the stuff in said room. Oh no, it's one of the dark rooms, but I don't recall as to which one exactly it was, so let's double check. And I suppose, might find ourselves in a couple of fights here, and it's been a long time since we last fought with Zack or Vern, and so far we really only had 1 or 2 fights with you. So, let's remind ourselves as to what exactly Zack does. In fact, I'm pretty sure he is using an old weapon here, because it is the Bone Slicer. It is effective against undead, but otherwise not his most powerful weapon. And his new attack that he got from the chestplate is Sin Strike. It inflicts damage based on the number of foes that Zack has slain. And it is Dark Elemental, so the more people Zack has taken out, the more powerful this attack becomes. This skill is probably my favorite in the entire game. Now, is that because it directly incentivizes you to take out ludicrous amounts of enemies, even though there's no real reason to do so? Yeah, maybe a little bit. That might have something to do with it, but I think you'll see why. Now, I'm actually not going to do it here because we are, of course, now in the Dark Temple against enemies that have 200% dark resistance, so probably not the best time to put it to use. Instead, let's go for something like, I don't know, Crescendo Slash. Well, these guys are, if I remember correctly, extremely resistant to physical attacks. Yeah, 20 defense. Well, actually, that's less than their magic defense, so I take it back. This is the way to go. As for Solar, probably means you're doing the same thing. You do have light elemental attacks, so that should be helpful. For the physical barriers, oh no, they're magic barriers. Okay, that's a little bit better for us. We actually have, I'd say, roughly half a spellcaster here, because obviously, Vern, I suppose you do have Green Lightning, which is a spell. It's just not a very powerful spell, at least not at the moment, because we would need to have crazy amounts of Spirit on Vern to put that to good use, and right now we've not boosted his Spirit at all. So he's, I wouldn't really call him a spellcaster at this stage, and Solar is a bit of a hybrid between physical attacks and spellcaster. Maybe a little bit more toward the spellcaster front, so I suppose we do still have one of those. Now, Smite Evil is particularly effective against dark elemental enemies, though. So, Vern, despite the fact that you are currently using the weakest sword in the game, because we forgot to switch that, you still dealt enough damage to take that guy out, so that's good to see. And Mardek says, yeah, I can crit. Don't mind me. Trying to one-up Vern. Okay, so let's make a point now, before we forget, of swapping out Vern's weapon so that he's not using a base 10 attack sword with nothing special about it at all. Do we have any new swords? Actually, I think we do. I thought I remembered that we picked up an air sword in Aeropolis, fittingly enough. We also probably want to put the twin trilobites on Zack. We did also see a new double sword in Aeropolis, but I don't think we ended up buying it because it looked like it was a little bit too expensive for us. Let's make sure that we look at our item storage, because I don't think we picked up that air sword. My guess is it's on another one of our characters that we have since swapped out. Okay, so it appears as though we probably just didn't end up buying it. I don't remember as to which ones exactly we opted to buy and not buy. So in that case, let's keep on moving here. Oh, and at least put something in place of what Vern is currently equipping. So we'll throw on maybe something like... Zantusian Scimitar is actually technically a slightly stronger weapon than the Champion Sword, other than that it is normal, non-elemental, whereas Champion Sword is light elemental, so here in the Dark Temple, Champion Sword will be better for that reason at least. And I don't remember which side we're looking for, but I want to say it's over here. Is this the Dark Room that we did not fully complete? No, we have completed this one. So it is on the other side. Let's make a point of going there. And I actually think that we will find that it is not so much dark that is useful, or at least most critical to us. Very soon, at least. We'll be wanting to switch in just a bit. So again, I think we go Crescendo Slash here. These guys will have fairly strong defenses. And Solar, are you better off using physical attacks? Or are you better off using spells? Probably spells, at least to take some of the skeletons out. So let's take one here. Okay, one down, sure. That's what the Solar Flare looks like, in case you forgot. I believe we have used it on a couple occasions before, but good to get the chance to see it again. Oh, we should have used Smite Evil. That was silly. Okay, so these guys dealing out a little bit of damage of their own. Oh, and Mardek. Come on, man. Okay, we'll Crescendo Slash this guy. Surely he'll go down. Solar, do we get clever and use a physical attack here? 20 defense. When there's only one magic defense, we should probably still use a spell. Let's just do this. Just in case. Okay. Great. And now, before I forget, what I actually want to do is, I suppose, make a point of putting on these water pendants. Before, I was saying, maybe you'll want to not put too many of these on. You want to focus on balancing things out a little bit more. On this occasion, I take it back. On this occasion, let's put on as much water resistance as we can. And That's going to be primarily through these. I think we can probably have a few more water resistance items. I'm thinking of, like, the Lapis Lily might be back in the storage again, or on Elwian right now, or something like that. But let's make sure that we also have water resistance equipped. And I suppose we could take off light to do that? Yeah, I suppose that's okay. Did Zach really have 0 magic defensive reactions? That's pretty crazy. Vern, we did not put on one of those pendants because he's currently wearing Trilobite armor, so he does already have a lot of water resistance. Okay. And this is the room that I was looking for, because if you remember here, we have one chest we've not yet picked up, and we have one green NPC over here? And what is the deal with that exactly? Well, here is the secret area that I just could not find previously. So I wanted to spare you guys the torment of watching me attempt to find that, because, well, it could have been a while. And what is this guy here? It's another one of those trilobites. Now, last one we fought was a little while ago in the Hero's Den using an entirely different team, so I'm not sure how these guys are going to fare against him. Because last time we numbed the Trilobite Warrior with Meriador, making him almost incapable of dealing damage, and then Gloria used Razor Leaf to deal a bunch of damage. This team, we'll just have to see how it works out. He is functionally the same as the other Trilobite that we fought, so there's no difference between the two of them. It's just that our team is entirely different here. So, we could opt to use Sin Strike here and see just how effective that is. This guy has 20% dark resistance, so could still be a reasonable option for us. Otherwise, Crescendo Slash will, of course, gain power the longer the battle goes. Let's try Sin Strike. 200 damage is not terrible. We see, wow, that's a lot of damage. That was Earth rather than Water, and as it turns out, the Water Pendants, they give Water resistance, yes, but they give Earth weakness. So like Mardek, for example, we just gave him 100% Earth weakness, so that came back to bite us a little bit here. So we'll see if that is a common theme. We can heal with Solar, and I think that is probably a good idea, given just how much damage we took. And Vern, might this be a reason for you to use Green Lightning? Because this guy is weak to Earth. However, your other attacks, probably your standard attack, would be the strongest. I think we probably stick with that. Okay, but it is only 100 damage. We might have made a bit of a mistake here, trying to take this guy out. Only one way to know for certain, though. I think the magic defensive barriers are going to be key. Let's try to keep Solar safe, because I do think he has the lowest HP. Now, do we keep up the Sin Strikes, or do we go for Crescendo Slashes? I think short-term Crescendo Slash won't be as good, but looks like if we are to be successful here, this will have to be a pretty long fight. Ooh, we're fortunate that he missed there. So long-term, I think Crescendo Slash will ultimately become better. And we do now have an opportunity to either use a spell, an offensive spell, or a physical attack with Solar, because we don't need to heal people. Let's use an offensive spell. That, I think, is the most damage we're going to be able to do, at least for a while. Unless and until Burn crits, or maybe Crescendo Slash starts to get stronger. Because Mardek, I think you're going to have to continue to build up those magic shields. Who's next priority? Probably Burn. He's the next lowest HP. That's the criteria I'm using. Crescendo Slash. Getting close to 100 damage now. Siphon, that I like to see. Actually healed Mardek that time, so again, that does mean we could use an offensive skill here with Solar. Not as much damage that time, not nearly as much. That's a little odd. Burn, might we want to try something else here? Doesn't have any items at all. I was wondering if maybe we might have some of those earth damage potions. Mardek very likely could have them. Somewhere buried in his inventory. Oh, does he have everything except for that? He has Cold Water and Alchemist Fire, but not the Earth version, it doesn't seem. Anyways, Mardek is occupied at the moment, at least, creating those magic shields. Let's do that. Continue the Crescendo Slashes. Okay. And the stone explosions, don't like to see those, but hopefully the magic barriers make a bit of a difference here. Mardek is pretty hurt from that, because he has the most earth weakness, and was the only person at that point in time who did not have a magic shield. Let's use another heal here with Solar. Not enough to get Mardek up to full HP, but it is for everyone else. I think we just keep up the work here, and maybe I am curious as to how much damage Green Lightning does. I think his normal attack was still stronger, and his normal attack will have the chance of going crit. So let's put on the magic shield on Mardek, so that he's not quite as vulnerable. Crescendo Slash should be doing over 100 damage this time. It does. Siphon is fine. And then, again, means we could use the Solar Flare. Not too concerned about Mardek being slightly lower than maximum HP. Another physical attack with Burn should do it for him. Mardek, now that everyone has a magic shield, you could put up physical shields. Not necessarily sure how necessary that might be. Could also put on regen. Maybe that's worth doing. Give ourselves a little more passive healing. Crescendo Slash. At this point, it does look like it's becoming pretty powerful. I think starting next turn, it will be stronger than a Sin Strike would have been. There we see another Stone Explosion against everyone, but everyone does have the shields on. Let's make a point of healing here. But Solar is starting to run a little bit low on MP. Mardek probably does have an item that could restore that. That is something to bear in mind. There we see Mardek regenerating a little bit of his HP. And then we throw on magic shields as well. Do we start to use Mardek offensively? I'm a little curious as to how much damage he can deal. It should be pretty similar to what Burm's doing with his attacks, which is not amazing. So I think maybe we do prioritize keeping people alive here. In which case, Solar, I think, again, is priority number one. Solar is theoretically the weakest. Zack, though, I think will start to become our strongest damage dealer. And he does not have 100 resistance to water, unlike others. Actually, don't know. Oh, it's because he has a fire pendant for his other pendant, and that would normally reduce his water resistance, so these two are kind of canceling each other out. So we should have, if we were deliberately trying to focus on stacking up the water resistance, made a point of taking off that fire pendant. So here is the snare we were anticipating. Solar no longer has enough MP to at least use Resurrect, which no one's down at the moment, so that shouldn't be a problem. We don't really need to heal, so we will use Solar Flare. But that probably is the sign we were looking for, that Mardek should restore some MP next turn for Solar. There's a crit, although honestly, not terribly impressive. Didn't boost that much damage. So, ways for us to get some MP back for Solar. Probably the Ether, which is 200, which is probably a bit of an over-restoration. Well, it's 100, actually, in which case it's not. It's actually a pretty good fit. Almost fully restores Solar. So I think that should certainly last us until the end of the fight. Another Stone Explosion. So that probably means that we got that MP back on Solar just in time, because we are going to want to heal with Solar here. Which I suppose is the same amount of MP as the offensive spell costs. But important that we make it happen immediately, so we don't take two of those hits in a row. The Trilobite Warrior, he's starting to get low here. I was a little bit concerned, but we can now attack with Mardek. Slightly more damage than Burn, it seems. Might have some better offensive reactions. Crescendo Slash, at this point, is, well, still maybe only slightly more powerful than the Sin Strike, so maybe it would have been best to just stick with Sin Strike the whole way through. Solar, again, probably worth using Pleasant Sunbeam here to heal. And at this point, with some luck, we might still need Solar to get an attack in here. But we're pretty darn close to taking this Trilobite Warrior out. Will Zack be able to do it with a Crescendo Slash here? He might be able to. Oh, it's so close, but not quite. Another Mass Stone Explosion. I think on this occasion, we might deliberately pass on the heal and just go all-out offense with Solar and finish this guy off. Because that we can do. I was skeptical at first when I saw how little damage we were dealing. Felt like it was maybe not going to be as effective as our first fight there, especially when we knew that we were not going to be able to numb him the same way we did the first time. We did get a Trilobite staff, though, and we did, of course, succeed with the fight. And we got a magic offensive reaction mastered for Solar, so that's good to see. Well done. You have won. You have defeated 2 of us so far. Keep at it, young man. I will be going now. Good day. Alright, so away goes the Trilobite warrior. So that was the NPC down here. There is still a chest in this area, and as for where exactly the door to that chest is, or pathway to that chest, we'll see if we can figure that out soon. For the time being, though, we have the Dark Elementals, and they are, of course, very resistant to Dark. So that means Sin Strike, not going to be a good option here. Crescendo Slash is also a little bit risky, because these guys have 20 defense, so we might not be able to do that much damage against them. And they do have their reaction, where they will counter if Zack were to attack here. And we are kind of looking to master some magic defensive reactions, so maybe that's not the end of the world, but it is potentially a little bit of a risk here, depending on just how much damage that is. Now this would be the point where we would say, okay, we probably do want to make a point of putting back on Dark Resistance items. Then we have Vern, who can of course use Smite Evil. That should be more than enough damage to take this guy out. So success there. And the question now, I believe, is where exactly do we start going right to make it to the other chest? Because, in theory, may have actually missed it. Hold on. Let's see. I feel like I might have not looked right early enough. So this is the very bottom. And if we go slightly above that, yeah, just slightly above it, brings us... Huh? Oh no, actually, I take it back. That was where the Trilobite was. We go lower, then wrap around, and here. To an unavoidable battle against a Dark Elemental, but I do believe we are currently standing right on top of that chest. So again, the same question we were asking ourselves earlier of, is it worth attacking the Dark Elemental with Zack? Because it will have a reaction. And actually, you know, he's taking a fair bit of damage from that, so we probably should have healed him in between battles, but so be it. We could Solar Flare this guy and probably take him out here. Okay, so no problem there. And it's just some motion potions, which is the paralysis removal item. So it's not like it was the end of the world that we missed this one, or at least had to postpone picking it up. The primary reason why I did not originally go down this route was, first and foremost, I had no idea where the actual pathway to get here was, so like I said earlier, I didn't want to be wandering around in the dark forever just trying to find it. And I knew that, at least at that point in time, it was unlikely that we'd be able to take out the Trilobite Warrior, and so this time, of course, with slightly stronger characters and slightly better gear, I was a little more confident that we could get it done, but it seemed like it was going to be a little bit close at first, but we did manage to do it. And there is one more thing in the Dark Temple that I do want us to do, and if we could retrace our steps here to get out of this secret dark path, then I believe we will be able to do that. So, same scenario we saw ourselves in earlier. Again, let's not use Sin Strike. And these guys have strong enough armor that they actually can't do any damage to them at all. Okay, Solar Flare. Let's take out the Onyx with that. Then Bernie should be able to take someone out with Smite Evil. So let's do that. We also forgot to heal Zack once more, so he is very much on low HP. Sure, even though we could probably take out the monochrome here, let's make a point of making that happen, so we don't forget about Zack. And then Solar Flare should be enough. And it's also enough for Solar to level up, so that's good to see. Lots of items there as well. Okay, good to see. So now, let's head on out of here, and we'll go to the area where I was kind of implying that we might go originally, that being the area where we, of course, had our boss fight in the Dark Temple. Because that is the general rule of thumb, as we were talking about a while ago, back in Chapter 2, is that whenever you do encounter a boss fight, in Mardek, you want to make sure that you head back over there, because typically you will find some very nice loot in all those locations. And these dark elementals, they're just standing in our way. So we'll smite evil on one of them, and then I'm assuming, once Mardek takes his turn, that is, that his normal attack will be enough, because it is light elemental. He doesn't need to use any special skills to make that happen, because it is the champion sword. Or dark essence. Sure. So we'll head in through here. And we had a mini-boss here. Followed by the spot where we met Solar. I suppose we could just heal for the sake of healing. And then this was the location with the actual boss fight, and this was where the Dark Crystal was once upon a time. Now, however, there's a Dreamstone. So, we'll be sure to check out that Dreamstone. However, I think this is a good place for us to wrap up here, so I'll see you all next time.